Hello, everyone. So there's so much going on right now. I keep wanting to do the next Adamu transmission. I keep wanting to tune into him and get a perspective on the things that are happening in the world, and in an orderly way, the way I like to do. Have Adamu offer comments on what's going on. But things keep changing. There keeps being like the next thing, and developments in the next thing advance so quickly that I'm it's already outdated before I can even sit down in front of the camera. And in between all of this, I'm checking in with Adamu and my whole team. So I thought I'm just going to throw all of that out the window and just show up and talk. So here I am. I'm just sitting on my bed with my camera because because there are people there. I mean, some of you have been connecting with me and saying, "Comment, what's going on?" And I know there's a lot going on in people's minds, a lot of confusion, some excitement, some fear. There's a lot going on. So the first thing I want to say is we are in a time now where that is going to be happening. We're going to be going through um, accelerating kind of changes. Wherever you look, things are going to be shifting and changing more and more and more. The old world, the old timeline is being closed out. The new timelines are busy being opened. And in this window, Adamu tells me it's called the time of flux, the time of chaos, time of rapid changes. And he says it's well nigh impossible to really have any kind of clarity on what is exactly going to happen for a number of reasons. One is that there is going to be so much rapid change. And two, your experience of what's going to be happening, your experience of all of this change is going to be very much determined, more and more increasingly so, determined by your frequency of consciousness. There has been and continues to be a kind of a spiritual war going on behind the scenes, and the war is for, without being dramatic, but it's for the souls of humanity. It's a spiritual war, trying to claim groups of souls, trying to claim people into one camp or another. So you've heard this from Adamu. I've been saying this over and over again, that the Dark Elite's mission number one is to lower the frequency of consciousness of humanity. While they are lowering the frequency of consciousness of humanity, there are all kinds of secondary objectives that they have. So totalitarian control is the immediate secondary objective, but they only gain totalitarian control by lowering your frequency of consciousness. And then if totalitarian control is an objective, then in order to achieve that objective, all the other things that you see, the Dark Elite system of control, having a deep state, having control of the pharmaceutical industry, having a big one, the banking industry, the military industrial complex, all of this, the political world, all the bribery and corruption and I mean, children, trafficking in children, sex trafficking, trafficking in drugs, in blood products. I mean, all of this absurd satanic dirtiness is all secondary to totalitarian control, which is secondary to lowering your frequency of consciousness. So everything's about that. If your frequency of consciousness is low, and you observe the things that are happening in the world, then you get stuck in feelings of being overwhelmed, shock, trauma, out of control. I don't know what to do. This is all too scary. Then they can very easily insert their authority engrams. That's what the media, that we're now calling it the legacy media, the mainstream media. That's what that was always about. And that's why we, are told to put certain people on pedestals. We've been told that Western medical practitioners who I'm horrified to discover, and sad to say, have been transformed really into big pharma reps. That's what they do. They're just reps selling pharmaceuticals, and those pharmaceuticals aren't good for you. Pharmaceuticals, once you're on like chronic medication, it lowers your frequency of consciousness. And that's just an example. It's kind of in everything. It's shot through. Everywhere you look are these tools of control. Banking, which is about lending you money, which is about getting you trapped in debt, which is about lowering your frequency of consciousness. Everything. It's all about that. So all of that has been going on. And now we're in this crucible of changes where things are suddenly changing very quickly. So what is happening with the drone thing? Adamu says that he can't and doesn't want to say very much, and he's got reasons for that. The main reason is that with everything that's going on, he doesn't want to reveal information that will be useful to the other side, to like the dark elite, the remnants of the dark elite that are at war with themselves. He doesn't want to do anything that's going to put information and playing cards in their hands. So that's the one thing. The other thing is things will change very fast. So the idea that there's one fixed reality, one fixed set of things going on, is an idea of the old world. That's one of the things that the dark elite does. It's how they operate. They drive the consensus. They get ahead of whatever is happening in the world, and they tell you what it is. They frame it, whatever you're seeing, in the narrative that suits them. So they take ownership of the paradigm, which means there is only one world and it is what they say it is. That's why, for example, scientism is, they love it, where it's not the actual science. Science is beautiful. I love science. Science is a way of thinking. It's a way of looking at your world, analyzing it, understanding it, measuring and comparing and growing your knowledge in that way. Scientism is like Dr. Fauci was a scientism. Like a function of science. He was a high priest of scientism. If you think of scientism as being kind of like the religion of science, where we elevate certain characters and we make them, the authorities, the high priests, and we just do what they say. Well, that's not science at all. So scientism told us, what to think about the COVID virus. It told us what to think about how we should deal with it. Masking and social. It was all utter lies. None of it was true. None of it helped. The virus wasn't so bad in the first place, but everything was about controlling the narrative to get us to the point of all being vaxxed to the max. All of that and locking us down. I've got a hair hanging on my glasses. There we go. So all of that was about getting us corralled and controlled and really manipulated, controlled. For now, for what is starting now, they knew that this kind of thing was going to be happening. They knew we were going to be moving into this time of absolute craziness. They wanted us all locked down and controlled. They wanted us all on a social credit system. Long story short, they didn't get any of that stuff. They lost control of their own totalitarian control process. So we're far too free. We're far too feral as humans for them. We've raised our frequency of consciousness far too much. Many of us. Humanity writ large have made it over the hurdle. We are, by and large, too many of us are fifth density consciousness, self-responsible consciousness. So they've lost control of the plot. They are in control of a subset of humanity. It's obvious. There are people who will just, go along with the next thing. whatever the next thing is. And kind of you have to let people do that, because you can't rescue someone else. You can't. You can't rescue other people. You can't change other people's minds. You can't, from a higher frequency of consciousness, drag somebody up. At this point, what you have to do is take care of you. You have to take care of your frequency of consciousness. You have got to take responsibility for, staying connected with your own heart, keeping your frequency high, tuning in, listening, being governed and driven and motivated by your connection to source, not by the narratives that that are being forced upon you. Okay, so all that said, what is going on is very complicated. There are drones in the sky, by and large at this point, over New Jersey and one or two other areas in America. So there are a number of things going on with that. Many of the drones that you are seeing are, it's like I don't know whether it's Space Force or whether it's some other black ops, but these drones are highly advanced drone technology. There's some information about them on the internet. They're tilt wing drones, so they can vertical takeoff and land, and then they can flip their wing and they can fly. And they were initially designed to be sniffer drones, to go and sniff out if there's been like a dirty bomb or something like that. That's what they were initially designed for. But they have all kinds of advanced capabilities, kind of detection capabilities. So they are like scouts up in the sky. And there are a number of reasons that they're up there. So one of the reasons is as a kind of a evaluation, a psychological operation evaluation, to see what happens if they put them in the sky. How do people respond? To see whether they can be detected, whether they can be interdicted and shot down, and what actually happens if you put them in a cloud, if you have them moving around, lots of them in the sky. So that's one of the things that's going on. We as human beings, we like consensus. We like to collapse everything down to one thing. I'm seeing 10 different things going on. What are these 10 things all point to? And we want one thing. And then when we get one thing, something in us gets relaxed. We go, oh, that's what it is. It's that. It's all that. Alas, it's not all that. That's one of the things that it is. There's another set of drone-ish things going on in the sky. These drone-ish things are exotic. By exotic, I mean not made by Earth society as we understand it. That it's something else. I don't know what it is, but I do know it's not normal Earth human. So it could be there has been a splinter, a technological splinter, a little sub-civilization that broke off from Earth civilization some time ago. And they have gained access to more advanced technologies, and they're sort of operating very hidden behind the scenes, kind of in parallel, and they're doing all kinds of space travel and all kinds of amazing things. Is it them? It could be. I don't know that it is. It could be. We also know that there are extra-dimensional beings. So civilizations that are on planet Earth, that are as Earth native as you or I are, but they inhabit the planet at a different dimensional frequency. So there's extra-dimensionals. There's extraterrestrials. There's something going on with some information that's entering our timeline now about a mini solar system that's busy entering into our solar system. So those of you, the Nibiru fans, the people who've been on about that for some time, this is going to get you excited. That is appearing into this timeline. That's starting to shape up. We are headed to, let me just take a quick sidebar. We are headed towards a thing called the event. It's called the event because it's undefined. We don't yet know what the event will be. So we haven't called it, Nibiru arrives or World War III, or because depending on the timeline you're on, depending on the frequency of consciousness, you're going to get a different event. So we are all observing a timeline into reality for ourselves. The event is the moment when consensus completely shatters, and we have a period of time as those who share the timeline with you coalesce your timeline. When the consensus breaks down, you can't normalize with people who are not of your frequency of consciousness. So how could that look? One of the things you can expect in the window of the event is all the things that you use to normalize with other people stop working. So what I'm talking about is like if the internet got switched off, if electricity itself got switched off, I think it's in the Bible, the 3 days of darkness. Not a big, Bible researching person, but it's this idea of a period of darkness is in many wisdom traditions, many sort of prophecies about the future, a period of darkness. It's often 3 days, sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's seen to be a metaphorical period of time, but there's a period of time of darkness. Well, that darkness could be electricity and the internet, and no phones work. Your bank card doesn't work. You can't pop down to town and just buy some grocery. Like everything just shuts down. A period of that, and in that period, the consensus breaks down, and then new timelines emerge. So we're headed towards that. So things are going to get kind of crazy and chaotic. So now there is apparently this other solar system, which is sort of moving through the Oort cloud, which is kicking kind of asteroids, kind of meteorites and things like that out, which some of them, headed our way. Some of them will enter our atmosphere. Some of them will strike the Earth. As this thing gets closer, that accelerates. That there's more and more of that. Is that going to coalesce on the timeline you're on? Are you definitely going to see that happening? I can't say that for a fact. I don't know. And that's the point. It's all up in the sky right now. It's all up in the clouds. What is busy happening now is there's actually war in the heavens. It's already kind of kicking off. It's not big yet. All the forces are still checking each other out. But there exists the possibility. I mean, if Nibiru is headed here, they are, when you look in sort of our ancient records, like the Sumerian tablets and whatnot, the people that they engaged with were, compared to Earth humans then, had kind of godlike level of technology. So we can expect that they have technology in advance of what we have now. We can expect that. We've made leaps. We've advanced incredibly quickly. I mean, if you think about it, 100 years ago, like we were using ox carts. Now we've got spaceships. So we've advanced absurdly quickly. And one of the reasons for that is because we've had access to exogenous technology to reverse. But I don't want to open up too many, sidebars. The point is that if they are actually entering our solar system, they would be sending scoutcraft to come and check out the planet, to prepare for interaction and engagement. Then there's the Galactic Federation, who are, as always, playing the defensive role and trying to protect planet Earth as we raise our frequency of consciousness so that we can approach the event, so that they can openly connect with and communicate with us. Then there are other factions. There are the Orionids who still want to claim planet Earth as as dominion. I understand the Draco reptiles are now no longer claiming planet Earth as dominion. There is contest, but whether that's right, whether that's wrong, whether it's true, the point is this is a time of chaos. This is a time when wild things are going to be happening. So you can get yourself in a snit about that. You can get yourself scared about that, fearful. You can start to panic. All of that would be the wrong choice. That would take you into lower frequency of consciousness. That would make you susceptible to poor decision making, and you would then accept, control engrams. Have you ever been really fully triggered? Have you ever experienced yourself like that? Like somebody says something to you and it just triggers the living crap out of you. You go into an kind of an altered state of consciousness. You get tunnel vision. You don't think clearly. You are certainly not connected with your body, with your deep wisdom, with your heart, with your knowing, with empathy, with compassion, with wisdom. You leap from paranoid thought to paranoid thought, and you do and say crazy things. So that's kind of where that state, keeping you there, is what would serve the dark elite's agenda the most, because then you're going to be hyper reactive, and they will be able to, by presenting you with the firm, clear voice of authority, they will want to be able to lead you. Now, the thing to understand is they've lost control. They've lost control of the plot. They're internally conflicted and fighting with each other. They're in a state of disarray. So what they will and won't do becomes very very difficult to kind of gauge or guess. A wounded animal, a wounded snake, a wounded predator is the most dangerous of all, because in that state, really, all they're looking to do is hurt you back. So it's a bit like that. That's where they are. They're in a very, very difficult place. Their world is busy imploding. So we've got drones doing something, sniffing, running a psyop, also running interference. Because if the drones weren't there, you would be noticing what else is going on, like let's say at another layer above the drones, all kinds of other crazy lights in the sky. Now, because there's drones, people say, oh, look at what the drones are doing. So when you see drones, there's a level of assumption that this is Earth-based technology. We had some whatever he was, I don't know, representative, saying from New Jersey, saying that this is Iranian technology, that there's a mothership off the coast, and these are all coming from Iran. Well, I mean, no disrespect to Iran and their technological capabilities, but if Iran is at that level technologically with drones, these things are like cloaking, and they're hanging in the sky for like 6 hours, and they're doing all kinds of crazy things. If that's Iran, well, then the war is over. If they're able to do that on American soil, and you can't, with F-16s shoot them down, and you can't even detect them. You don't even know what the bandwidth that they're using to communicate. It's just next level. If Iran has got that level of technology, then you're screwed. So it's not Iran. It's not Iran. It's creating a a blanket where everything else is seen as drones, including normal things, including, satellites moving across the sky, including aeroplanes flying. Everybody's like hyper alert and they're just seeing drones. But what they're missing is that there is a vast number of other crazy things happening in the sky. One of the crazy things that if you're in the area, if you're observant, you'll see is orbs. Now, orbs, really, it's just a word that describes a very, very bright light in the sky. But the thing about the orbs, that it isn't just a light in the sky. It's not a drone with a bright light. I mean, why are they putting the bright lights on the drones? Why would you do that? Why would you make it visible if you're, conducting exercise? Because they want you to see them, to point at them and to say, oh, look, drones. Because the orbs are very bright lights. The difference being is that the orbs can operate far higher. They can move far quicker. They can do things like change direction. They're not drones. The orbs can also project like shape change, like shape shift. They can project an image, which, I mean, drones are just drones. It's mighty good technology, but it's still just technology that we understand. It's just advanced. Orbs are something else. There are also metallic orbs, which if you've had your eyes open, if you've been on X looking at what people are seeing, there are these large, they look like, polished steel or something like that, large orbs. So some of these are from the Galactic Federation. Some of these are Pleiadian time probes. They're highly sophisticated tools of measurement. They're just kind of really watching and recording everything that's going on, and they give the Galactic Federation insight as to what's happening across time. So there's a lot going on. There's a tremendous amount going on, and you will also, if you have your eyes open, if you're looking at alternative news as much as I am, you will see there are also crazy phenomena going on in the sky that isn't a discrete object in the sky, like intense flashes and movements and what looks like weaponry firing, and there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. So, friends, this is a time where you are really being alerted. You are being put on notice that things are about to change. People like myself, there's a lot of us, channels and people that speak on behalf of higher density consciousnesses, and we've been talking about this for a long time. So much so, we've also thought that things would transpire at a particular time, and then kind of humanity collectively changed their mind. So much so that many people have a sort of they're tired of preparing. They're tired of being told to prepare. They have preparation fatigue. So if you have preparation fatigue, then this is an opportunity to notice that things are different now. We're not just telling you, oh, something's coming. It's busy happening. It's here. It's here now. So what do you do about this? I said it right at the beginning, and I'll say it again. The single most important thing you can do is to keep your frequency high. So don't give up on your good disciplines. Meditate. Connect with your heart. Connect with your divine guidance. Connect with the sense that you're okay and everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And from a place of connectedness, from a place of self-responsibility, because that's one of the things that's happening. The planet is being split, self-responsible versus other responsible. The herd, the human herd, is being split. So self-responsibility puts you on the self-responsible timeline. That's the good timeline. That's the higher frequency timeline. You have access to that timeline. If you're even able to hear this message, it means you can be on that timeline. It's not too late until the event, until it actually happens. It's not too late. So self-responsibility, the first tenet of self-responsibility is kind of emotional, spiritual self-responsibility. From there comes intellectual self-responsibility. If your heart and your emotions are in the right place, it's very easy to then get your mind in the right place. The reverse is impossible. If you're emotionally disconnected, if your heart is disconnected, if you're in a state, in a flap, your mind just follows suit. Your mind runs at 1,000,000 miles per hour like a headless chicken doing all the wrong things. Okay, so start here. Then when here is right, then intellectual. And what I'm inviting you to do, again, is to think about your preparations. You have to be self-responsible about this. I can't tell you how to prepare because your circumstances are completely unique. They're not my circumstances. Somebody living in the middle of a huge city, somebody living on in a skyrise in Manhattan, has an entirely different set of things to deal with and think about than somebody who's living on a farm somewhere deep rural. Entirely different circumstances. So just some general comments about it. I do believe what you need to prepare for is like about 3 weeks of taking care of yourself if everything goes to hell. So think about that. Where you are right now, if electricity gets switched off, how will you be? And think it through, because it doesn't just mean that you can't switch on a light. That's not the sum total. What else is running on electricity? Well, somewhere there's a pump pumping water so that when you open the tap, you have water. So if electricity goes off, water goes off. If water goes off, sewage goes off. So, how does that look for you? What do you do? If you're on the 20th story of a building, you'll probably be able to flush for quite a while. But, think about this. Electricity, water, sewerage. How long will it take, if there's absolutely no water, for your other responsible neighbors, the people around you who aren't taking care of themselves? How long will it take before they start losing their minds? Other responsible people lose their minds because they've always expected somebody else to take care of them. They have the idea that no matter what happens, it's someone else's problem. There's government and there's the city and there's a technician somewhere and someone will fix it, in enough time. And when it dawns upon the other responsible that there's no one coming, this is not going to get fixed. They are psychologically utterly unequipped for that moment. Something breaks and they lose their minds. Okay, so then, a logical thing for the other responsible is at that moment to say, well, I have to take care of me. This is desperate. I will go out and I will loot. It's obvious. I must get the things I need. So I'll go smash windows. And while I'm grabbing, some bottles of water, I will just get a flat screen TV and, whatever else, whatever else grabs my attention. So if that is your circumstance, if you're in a city, the city around you for a period of time is going to go crazy. Are you equipped for that? So you might decide that you are going to not stay there. You might decide you're going to bug out. There's a whole chain of thoughts that you have to think through if you're going to bug out, because you have to bug out ahead of the rush. Otherwise, you get caught in the rush. And the rush includes people who are going absurd, who are looting and now you're trying to bug out with a whole bunch of provisions. What does that look like? Somebody else that's going crazy with weapons blocking the road, and you're trying to move with. Think about these things. Think about it. Think it through. The most important thing is, don't let fear overtake you. If you start tensing up, if this now starts to sound very scary, then you got to perhaps pause the video and take care of your emotional well-being. You've got to be centered in your heart. Listen to me when I say, that is mission number one. If you get that right, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll figure it out. You will be where you need to be when you need to be there, if you are truly listening to your heart, truly heart connected. Okay, so they say, it's the rule of threes, that you can last 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So that means, theoretically, if you have water and you don't go do stupid things, if you just have water, you'll be able to last 3 weeks. If you just, lock your door and stay safe indoors with just water, you'll be fine. So obviously, if you just have 3 weeks of water, how much water do you need to drink every day? You have a little bit more, because you probably want to cleanse yourself a little bit or something. But think about this. Think about water, protecting yourself, food, community, where you want to be. And if you're bugging out, and think carefully, if you're bugging out, where are you going? Is that sorted? Is it a safe place for you to be? Will you be received there? Because there's all kinds of people with stupid notions. Big, tough Rambo, I've got a gun and a fishing rod, and if needed, I will hit the country and I will hunt and fish on somebody else's land who's already there, who's got a sniper rifle protecting what's theirs. So if you plan to bug out, think about that. If you plan to bug in, think about that. This is just an opportunity, not from a place of panic, from a place of self-responsibility, to just notice. Just notice. How much more warning do you need before you go, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure I've got the basics taken care of. This is just your opportunity to think about all of that stuff. Okay. So the bigger picture is that what's going on now is necessary. It's a part of the great changes that we are passing through. It's all an essential part of a huge transformation that kind of has to happen to humanity. We couldn't continue on the trajectory that we were doing. We couldn't. No part of what we were doing was sustainable. If you think about the false sense of normalcy that we were residing under, let's say pre-COVID, we're okay, go to work, earn a paycheck, pay your bills, pay your mortgage, kids go to school, everything's kind of okay, everything's normal, our political system works for us, we vote for our politicians serve us. All these kinds of ideas that have really been brought up for review. We really noticed that we were lied to horribly about everything. The whole political system is poisonous. It was disastrous. And it wasn't what it seemed. There's this dark elite with their deep state and their tentacles everywhere. worldwide. That was there. It was already there. It had been there for a long time. The financial system, this fiat financial system, again, a dark elite that owns the worldwide money supply. And all the wars that were going on around the world, you know, a president gets voted in because he says he's going to be the president of hope and change. He's a man of peace. He gets the Nobel Peace Prize. And all he does is serve the dark elite agenda by expanding wars. It's senseless, stupid wars all over the world. And this was normalized. And because we weren't uncomfortable enough, it just kept rolling forward. It was unsustainable. Every part of it was unsustainable. And every part of it needed to come to an end. And this is what it looks like when it all crashes. And it needs to crash, and it's crashing perfectly on time, because what's actually happening here is human apotheosis. We, humanity, are waking up. So that's what's really going on. That's what's going on behind the scenes. That's why the dark elite are in a frenzy. That's why all the things they're doing are collapsing, because they can't hammer us down into totalitarian control the way they want to. So all of this is actually good news. You, as a self-responsible soul, or I hope a unity-conscious soul, or maybe even a creator-conscious soul, you as an awakening, enlightening being, you just have to make it through this time of change. You just have to survive. You just and it's coming. It's all happening. So that's why I'm asking you to prep, because I want to see you on the other side. You know, I want to create a beautiful, joyful, wonderful, unity-conscious world with you on the other side. So you just have to make it through. Which, just keep being self-responsible. Don't lose your connection. Don't lose your mind, and you'll be fine. Okay. So big changes, but don't panic. It's going to be okay. See ya.